let's pop into our first segment because if you want to catch up on games, which only have an hour a day, whatever do you do?
It's 11 p.m. Should I play games or should I go to bed?
Should you play games or go to bed? Answer, you should always play games. Always play games when you need to. If it's go to bed or better play games, I mean, it's play games and then just regret your life tomorrow. I mean, I'm halfway through this episode, not feeling too hot, and I'm thinking about popping one of these night quills and then trying to play video games all night and work tomorrow because I make dad decisions at times.
Well, I think you should definitely do that. What I guess my first thing is like, what have you been playing with all your traveling and everything else? And what do you got for us as far as clips is concerned?
Good question. Good question. So, at my home console, I've been playing a little bit of Hogwarts Legacy. On the road, I am currently playing a game for Metroidvania March. It's the 1st of March, and on this channel, we try to do a Metroid style month. So I bought Axiom Verge. I've been playing through that. I've also been playing a game called Loop Hero, which I'll probably talk about a little bit later. And then I just started Mario and Rabbids Sparks of Hope. So I'm like juggling 3 games right now, but ask me where my heart is, Phil. Ask me, just ask me.
Where's your heart at?
My heart is in Hogwarts. My heart belongs to
I've re-
Hogwarts.
Clearly I made the wrong purchase because on my end of things, I am still playing God of War.
Very nice.
I bought Atomic Heart,
Oh,
and
nice.
played about 2 hours of Atomic Heart, and I to my credit, I have a nerd cred moment, which is for the first time in my life, I have seen end credits on a Zelda game. So while we were on vacation, we finished Zelda. I mean, we're still doing side
Whoa, whoa,
quests. We're
whoa.
still doing all that stuff.
You finished
So I
Breath of
didn't
the
tell you that.
Wild? Is that
Yes,
oh,
we saw. I beat Ganon at the end of the game with my son. We saw end credits on it. We saw how it ended, and now we can go back. So this is the first ever Zelda game that I have put the stamp of complete in my entire 35-year life. So that was a big moment for me. But that's what I've been playing.
whoa. So how did your kiddo react? Was it like jumping off of couches and like losing their mind or what did it look like?
Yeah, I mean, there's certain things, right, that I'm not going to turn into content, and this was just something that because actually, my son said, "Oh, I know you do the gaming thing with your friends. You should make a video out of this." And I was like, some things are just meant to be kept as
I
special between
completely agree. Yeah.
right between parent and son, and so we looked it up, and here's what I would say: without having gameplay footage to show you, um, the final boss is everything that was wrong with Zelda, which is that you can get through the entire game without ever using a shield deflect,
Mhm.
and then all of a sudden the only way to beat Ganon is to use a shield deflect of some bullets, and so I had to actually Google how to do a shield deflect because for the 100 hours that I played that game, I had never done it once and I hadn't needed it. And now all of a sudden I needed to do it. So it took me a couple tries, but
Well,
it was very exciting.
you're obviously playing it wrong, Phil. You're obviously playing the game wrong.
I have to do it the one way they want me to do it. So you know how I feel about that. But
Which
yes,
is
it was
so
a glorious
counterintuitive to
moment.
that whole game build, right? Because I mean, Breath of the Wild Zelda is like one of those games that tries to set up like do whatever you want, go wherever you want to go, and then for them to be like, nope, do it in this exact way is kind of an odd departure. But I'm
Yes.
excited. So does this make you like thirst for more Zelda? Like, are you ready to get back into the universe?
I can't wait till I don't have to play this game anymore. To be honest with you, like my complaints about this in my soapbox is like, look, the looting is really fun in that game, but the complete and absolute lack of direction and the
Mhm.
lack of linear function in that game, mixed with the fact that for whatever reason they always want to screw with Zelda games' inventory, so your weapons are breaking in the middle of a fight, and that takes you out of that fight is completely is a turnoff. Like that's the other thing, right? So we did the side quest of getting the Master Sword, which is not a primary quest. You don't have to do it in that
Oh,
game.
that's like side
Um,
content.
right? So we never got the Hylian shield, which is his standard shield. We never even unlocked that, and you can't even unlock that until the end of the game. But for instance, you get the Master Sword, and if you can only use the Master Sword against enemies of Ganon, so regular enemies you can't use it against, and it runs out of energy. So you spent all this time getting it, and then once it runs out of energy, it has to recharge for 10 minutes. So they want you to deal with their crappy looting system to get more weapons. You can't just have a sword that never breaks, right? Like that would be the whole point of getting the Master Sword is a sword that never breaks. So instead of breaking, it just runs out of energy.
Yeah, I did not know that. I never got the Hyrule Shield. I got into that game and I was like, okay, I need to like mainline this thing because I am not going to stick around for a lot of side content. And when they
Yeah.
tucked it behind like side content to get the Master Sword, I was like, nope, if I don't finish this game now, I'm not going to end up finishing it. So, I
Yeah.
mean, kudos to you. You've done it. Like, you did it. You did the side content, you got the sword, you have fully committed to that game and squeezed every hour out of it, it feels like.
It's not my choice, but yeah, but yes, I did. I'm doing it because I'm a good parent, and I want my son to feel like we're doing this thing together. But yes, not my favorite game of all time.
Dude, that's okay. That's all right. Well, one game that is quickly becoming one of my favorite games is this game called Hogwarts Legacy. I mentioned it before. I see people are joining the chat. Know that we're going to be doing a giveaway if you're subbed and commented in the chat. So just throwing that out there as people kind of wander in. But let's watch a little bit of Hogwarts. So the reason I pulled this clip, and I know I'm kind of talking over it a little bit, but there's not a ton of action
That
here.
one looks promising.
The vibe that this game nails is amazing.
This looks like the portrait from the map.
So in this clip, what you're seeing is basically me just going through Hogwarts, and then all of a sudden you find like a portrait that has a little icon on it, use a spell on that portrait, and what ends up happening is you end up jumping into, sorry, I don't know why that was up, but essentially what ends up happening is you can open up this doorway into a whole new map. And I think the reason this game is so like on my mind all the time is they really capture the whimsy of what the Harry Potter series was. So me being like an elder millennial or whatever you want to call it, I am somebody that like got into their first book series and it was Harry Potter. And this game does a beautiful job in the first couple of hours of just having you wander around the castle, and within the castle there's nooks and crannies and collectibles, and then all of a sudden you walk up a stairway and see something like a portrait like you see in this clip, you interact with it and it opens up to a brand new like area. And there's not a ton in that area, but the whimsy that they build into like the home base is like baffling. Like you walk through and you're like, whoa, I'm actually in that childhood fantasy that I had growing up.
Yeah, I mean, I think that nobody really talks about this, but I've been thinking about this a lot lately. I wish I had some clips of Atomic Heart, and maybe we can pull those up lately from my playthrough. But one of the limitations of gaming and games is that you only have a set number of game mechanics, right? So
Mhm.
in this case, how can we creatively do the same thing that we've been doing, and but at the same time make it fresh and new? So in this case, they're using the mechanic of creating a portal to walk through into another area as a way to say, hey, look, here's a hidden passageway. You know, when we were growing up, it was there were cracks in the wall that you had to blow up. There were other things going on. So games that can successfully come up with sort of new ways of doing the same thing that are visually stunning or audibly stunning are going to be, I think, games that are successful for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, and like speaking of this game specifically, I think something that I was really worried about going in is it's not going to be deep enough, right? There's not going to be enough variety here in this game to really hold me. And I think we had something we were both scared of, you know, when you're going back and forth of what are you going to buy. And what they've done that's really brilliant here is they probably have like 20 to 30 different spells that you can unlock, and they basically gatekeep different like discoverables behind these different spells. So, and then instead of like giving them to you all at once, of course, they tease them out over the course of the game. And some stuff is behind side content. So if you want to do this certain, if you want to get this certain spell, you have to do this certain side content to actually access these different secrets. So the collector in me paired with like this perfect nostalgia trip is just something that it's constantly on my mind. So I think something that they do that's very smart is in the first couple of hours they essentially keep you in Hogwarts, right? So you are in the school, go here, go there, and you're just kind of wandering around. But then you hit a point early, like I said, 2 or 3 hours in for my playthrough, where they're like, "Hey, go outside and check out the owlry. Is that what you call it? Owlry. So where all
You
the
would
birds live. Yeah.
yeah, you would know more than I would on that one.
So you walk outside and you're like, hey, look, there's this big castle in the background, and you kind of make your way towards that castle. And what happens is they build this path into this. I'm thinking this might not be the right clip, but they build this path. There it is, right there, where you're making your way up to the Owlry, and then you turn back and look over the castle of Hogwarts, and it's just like this magical moment where you're like, this world is big and lived in, and I can go anywhere. And I think that being able to tap into that and pair it so well with the Harry Potter brand is something that I was not expecting. This is a Harry Potter game, guys. Like, they easily could have cashed in and made this like shovelware, but they didn't. They went hard, they made it big, and this different set pieces they give you where you just turn back and look at the castle, or you're sitting through a class in one of the classrooms, like it actually feels like you are out of the books. And I just can't get over that feeling of like nostalgia, but they actually did a good job. And I feel like it would be so easy for them to mess us up. I really do.
Yeah, and I think that this is an underrated game design element, which is good use of the camera. Breath of the Wild is one of those games that doesn't have good uses of the camera, but if you're going to be on some sort of narrative driven experience, using that camera to kind of distinguish what's going on in the background, as opposed to having this wobbly camera that could just be right behind you the whole time, can enhance, in this case, the experience.
Yeah. I'm just I time after time I keep playing this game, and the systems that are built upon the systems in this, Hogwarts over Breath of the Wild, says Dr. Z. Yeah, I would say so. But the systems, and I kind of talked to Dr. Z about this on Monday, it's really impressive what Hogwarts Legacy is doing, because first it's like a battler, right? So you got your spells and your da 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 da, and it's a collectathon. So you're going through and collecting these different things, and they have the system in place where it's like, okay, if you solve X amount of this type of puzzle, you'll get more inventory slots. Or if you do this, you'll get a certain spell. And they're basically incentivizing you to do everything all the way. And then you get like, I think I'm 15 hours into this game, and I've hit a point where it's like, oh, did you know that you can capture and collect mythical beasts and then train them and breed them? And I'm like, great, now I'm playing Pokemon on top of this action adventure game that's huge. Like, it's just like, it's like, it's
Well,
blowing my mind.
yeah, this reminds me of like when they added those little details into Red Dead Redemption 2, which is probably arguably my favorite game of all time. Which is like, oh, by the way, you can go track animals and hunt them. And then you're like, oh, so I was like doing all these quests, and now I'm wandering, following the scent of this animal, walking through the woods to go get this skin to make a new code. So little details like that just continue to add to the immersive experience.
Yeah, I agree completely. I agree completely. This will be the last clip that I pull, and I want to hop into some God of War as well. But this clip is where you first like get to ride your broom, and you know it's coming. Like, you've seen some of the screenshots out there. I knew it was coming, but this first interaction, they basically put you on your broom and then ask you to fly around the castle.
Nice to get above it.
And this is before you've really been able to go very far because you've been on foot. And what it does is it kind of shows you that this world is completely connected. In other words, like, you can walk out of the castle, hop on your broom, and fly anywhere you want on the map. Which sounds like something that people have been trying to capture for years and years. But for you to pull up out of the courtyard in the front of the castle, lift off the ground, and fly anywhere in a zippy fashion, like, really expands upon how lived in this world feels. And it was just like one of those, oh my gosh, I'm doing the thing. Like, you're having flashbacks to that, my teenage self flying through the castle, and I just can't get over it. Like, I can't stop thinking about it. My sister is not a huge gamer. Megs, if you're watching, I'm definitely gonna out you right now for what happened earlier this week. But essentially, like, she's not a very great gamer, right? She doesn't speak the language. A lot of the times I can get very in the weeds when I'm talking with her about games. So I was like, no, go buy this, right? Go buy this game. There's Meg is in the chat. So she hits this mission where she has to find a helmet at one of the bandit camps, right? So she goes in, she clears out the bandits. She's like, the helmet is not here. I have opened the chest and there is no helmet in this chest. It doesn't exist. So then cut to like 3 days later, she's on the WB forums submitting a ticket. This helmet does not exist, right? So I'm on the phone with her the other day or this morning. She goes back to the area where the helmet is. It's just another chest that she hasn't opened yet. So she finds the other chest and she's like, oh no, oh no, I'm so embarrassed.
That's a legacy story. I love that.
So, Megs, we love you. You're not as bad as games as I lead on. But I mean, honestly, like what I'm getting at is like, even for somebody that's not like super like hardcore into games like you or I, like for me to be able to just hand this off to somebody that maybe isn't a proficient at like a ton of games, to be able for her to enjoy this as much as she has is really something that allows me to recommend this to just about everybody. I think it's a game that people should try. I'm really enjoying it. I'm 15 hours in, and this feels like one of those games that I'm going to push really hard on. The last time, and by that I mean I'm going to try to get into all the corners, do all the content, collect all the stuff. The last time I was as smitten with a game as I am with this was in Assassin's Creed Valhalla, which may not do a lot of stuff for a lot of people because it has Assassin's Creed in the title, but I'm going to go to my grave. Assassin's Creed Valhalla is an amazing game. But there you go. So that was 5 years ago. It also helps that I have a new TV and a new console. So I'm just like, this is so shiny and pretty. I want to pet it and keep
That's
it.
That's all. But well, I mean, with the broom mechanic, right? It's cool that because I was thinking that Destiny just dropped their newest expansion, and Destiny is another one of those games that does their traveling really well. They have huge giant maps, but their speeders are extremely quick, so you can kind of balance this. I can get from area to area as quickly as possible, but also have a really expansive map. So I think that that's a great mechanic.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm totally blown away. And speaking of very pretty games, you have been playing a very pretty game.
I have. I have been playing God of War. I mean, like I said, I took a break to um play Atomic Heart, which the verdict is still out on that game. I will let you know after a few more hours. But why don't you bring up a clip and we'll take a look at whatever it is that you have here.
Let's
So,
do it.
this right here. Let's take a look at the clip and then I'll kind of go through it here.
Go away! Watch out!
So this right here, if you can hear it, this is what makes this game great, right? What you're seeing here is a really unique use of color, which a lot of games don't really do. You have this sort of giant here, or this character who you can see the yellows and the purples and the greens, and it just adds to this immersive experience. So this was a clip I pulled from the day. Like, her weapon uses these different powders and smokes, adds to the feel of the combat. The combat is amazing in this game. Obviously, it's a God of War game if that's your thing. But this is just another one of those things where these little details being added in, like color, can enhance the immersive experience because you're like, oh, I've never seen anyone do that before. And that's something that I think that people are searching for desperately, is these new, like, oh, you found a way to do the same thing, but in a new way. So that's my take on this one.
I am really like, so when you first sent this clip over, like I was blown away because when I think of like God of War, I don't think of these colors. You know what I mean? Like I played the 2018, I think it was, or 20, whatever the prequel to this specific title is, and I don't remember the colors being so vivid. And I think it's really neat how they worked it into the combat. Like, is that fair? Like, do the colors really kind of put off what you're doing in that combat system?
Well, yeah, I mean, and this is one environment, right? So was the only environment for which these particular colors were being used.
Mm.
So
it's amazing to me, right? Because you had such an iconic weapon like the Blades of Chaos. I mean, I'm not a huge fan of the game mechanic where people make you play as the side character. So the fact that I had to play as Atreus for about 2 hours so far already is like I don't want to play as Atreus, but they to take the iconic weapon like the chains of the Blades of Chaos and then actually be able to make a weapon that I sometimes prefer using, which is the axe, is just a kudos to them. And so each environment is representative of the world that you're in. If you're in a level with a lot of lava, then there's going to be colors and textures that result in that. So
How is Atreus this time around? I know people thought he was a little too whiny in the last entry in this series. Like, does he bug you or grate on you at all?
yeah, I mean, I think so. I mean, there it's a little bit more sentimental and it's a little bit more deep about a father and son the entire time, so that's better. But this character in general is he's just not my favorite character. There's not a lot of complexity in my opinion.
Yeah. Yeah, well, that's too bad. And you did play the last God of War, right? Do you think that this is?
I've played all of them.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
that's right. Because you told me to stop being a filthy casual and go back and play the classic ones. Isn't that how that played out?
Have you never played the casual ones? Have you
I,
ever played the originals?
no, I haven't. I haven't played God of War one through
Oh
three.
man, oh you're missing out. It's like you're to you God of War is to me Assassin's Creed, right? You're probably just like never gonna visit it. It's probably just gonna be one of those things that's left in the nerd cred abyss, as
Dude,
it were.
hey, if Nintendo wants to come out with all of the God of War games on Nintendo Switch, I will play through all of them. Let's go. Or, maybe I should just it's time to get a Steam device. What is it? A
Steam Deck?
Steam Deck. Maybe it's time for a Steam Deck and to go back and buy God of War games, which I don't even know. Can you buy those on Steam? I don't know. Maybe I'm just talking
No, I
crazy.
don't think so.
I don't
I
think
don't
so
think
either.
so.
So there's a couple more God of War clips that I have here. Side quest, which I think will come in later on this run of show, and if you're going to have a dream sequence.
Let's just do the dream sequence one and then we can move on to
Okay,
some
cool.
other segment.
Let's do that. I'll bring that up. Wabam and play.
Whatever, 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 whatever. Will you stop?
So the ambiance here is that dream sequences are often one of my least favorite. Um, Dream sequences are often one of my least favorite, both game and video mechanics, because I think that they do a disservice. They're dishonest to the end viewer because they're not giving you the correct information as to far as what is reality and what's
Dude,
not.
you really
But I
hate the multiverse, don't you? You really hate the multiverse.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's probably why I haven't watched the last 10 movies. It's got nothing to do with
I'm,
more,
I'm
I
just
just,
saying you hate dream sequences because there's no stakes. Like you hate the dream sequences because you hate multiverse. Is that fair?
I feel, I think that dream sequences from a writing perspective are a lazy cop out for like how to get from point A to point B or how to give a viewer ideas or realizations about like what's going on. But I thought this particular dream sequence was done really well. So the feeling of stress and anxiety that you have while these things are running at you. So the precursor to this, right, is that you don't really know what's going on. You know, he goes to sleep. You can kind of assume this is a dream, but you don't really know what the dreams mean. And they don't really drive you to a new plot device. So if you're going to do a dream sequence, this to me was an acceptable one. This was an acceptable one because I think it added the correct feeling for those people who are watching it.
So you heard it here first, folks. Phil hates dreams. That's what we took from this.
No, I hate dream sequences in movies and games.
Okay. Okay, maybe I'm putting words in your mouth, but hey, it is what it is. So yeah, I mean, so here's the deal. Like the reason we do this show is because gaming is busy, gaming is hard. It's hard to get through all the good content that's out there. So you just take an hour a day and you do it. And that was our realization over the last week, month, whatever it's been. But yeah, so you're gonna keep on keeping on with God of War, I would hope, and then Atomic Heart as well, right?
Yeah, so we'll see on Atomic Heart. I wish I had brought some clips for that for the show, but essentially, and maybe we'll talk about it more in depth on the last one, on the next episode that we do. But essentially, the first 30 minutes of the game, and I'm not exaggerating, you can go to my playthrough. The first 30 minutes of the game, you don't do anything other than press the R1 button.
Oh,
So
for
like
real?
this is how, because there's ways to show the environment to people that can be interactive and show them the world like Hogwarts is doing, where you can fly around and you can interact. That's the whole point of video games. Yes, but for those of you who are here, I know that there's a bunch of people here. Just a reminder, we have not done the giveaway yet. It is coming at some point in the show, and you have to be subscribed to our Twitch page. So that is still coming, and I think we have a lot more fun stuff to do still, don't we?